I'm Chris Carter of the Locked On Steelers podcast, and I'll explain why Patrick Queen, I think, was actually the perfect addition to the Steelers defense after talking to him at Steelers OTAs. That and a lot more here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Steelers fans, let's get into it. I was at the second day of OTAs, though the media's been there, and it gave me a chance to talk to some more players. Now that the quarterbacks were done, we could kind of like bounce around the locker room a bit more, and that's what we did. So we're going to talk to a lot of defensive players in this show. I was able to get some good interviews in, clip them up, and you'll be able to see some of them here on the show. And we'll get to the cornerback stuff. I know a lot of people were asking in the comment section about Cory Trice and Darius Rush and guys like that. We'll get to them in a minute. But I had a really interesting one-on-one conversation with Patrick Queen, the new Steelers linebacker they signed in the offseason. And Patrick Queen was arguably the biggest addition this offseason, outside of the first-round draft picks and, with Zach Frazier being the second-round guy, Troy Fautanu. But Patrick Queen being added, at the time when they signed him, I thought this was a great addition because I thought that he could really be the key piece at linebacker. But one thing I wanted to see for myself was get to talk to Patrick Queen and see if he understood the role that he was going to be playing in the Steelers defense, not just schematically, but even kind of in a leadership sense of understanding, the moving train that he's hopping on, to use a Tomlinism with the moving train thing. But Patrick Queen needed to come in and needs to be a playmaker, but also needs to understand that he's playing within a system and he's playing around leaders who are already established superstars in the NFL, like TJ Watt, like Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I think it takes the right kind of player to play at a high level and also understand where their place is at playing at a high level next to other guys. And I think that Patrick Queen could actually very well be the best combination of someone who understands that while also bringing a ton of talent to the field. Here's my interview with Patrick Queen in the Steelers locker room on Wednesday at Steelers OTAs. Now, you just came from a team with a lot of defensive talent. Now you're on a team with a lot more defensive talent. What has it been like assimilating into this group, getting to know everybody, making yourself part of the team?
Yeah, just coming in here, doing my job, doing what I brought here for, just trying to learn everybody, learn the terminology, learn how people play, what they do, what stuff they like, what they don't like. I think that's the biggest thing for being in this time right now is just trying to get a feel for everybody. So that way we get in a training camp, everybody's rolling.
What's been the conversations with you and either Mike Tomlin or Terrell Lawson about leadership component and the importance of the linebacker that's going to be communicating?
Yeah, I think as far as here, it's not a whole bunch of rah-rah. It's not a whole bunch of talking about it, more about being about it, leading by example, doing your job. It's like everybody just understands, we're here for one job, and, it's time to play, time to jokes, time to laugh and have fun. But at the same time, we're strictly about, going to work and doing what we got to do to get to that spot in the end of February. So, that's what everybody's here right now, just focus on getting better each day.
There's a guy working with the Steelers right now, coach side, Ryan Shazier, who a lot of people compare you to the closest thing that they've had to him.
Right.
What do you remember of seeing him play, and how do you think your play maybe compares to coverage ability with the linebacker?
He flies to the ball, heavy hitter. Really the linebacker that could do it all, and I feel like I could do the same. I think that he definitely hit harder than me, but I still bring the thump. I think just all around, we both bring every element of football play at the linebacker spot to this team. So, it's definitely hell of a shoes to come and fill in, but I think I know I'm up for the task, and I can't wait.
What's your impression of Coach Curry?
Great. Kind of on that crazy side, but a good dude. He means all the best. He's gonna really detail everything to make sure it's all down pat and stuff. He's that type of guy, so he's a hell of a coach, and I still need this time to get to learn everything that they're trying to teach me right now, and I think everything will be smooth sailing.
I know it's just May, and y'all are just doing Marvin. I know it's just May, but there's a lot of hype around it. This team finished 6th in scoring defense last year. Do you guys talk about what it takes to be elite defense and the building blocks to get to that?
Yeah, it's just communication. Make sure we're all on the same page. Getting to the ball, getting turnovers. Just everybody doing their job and doing that at elite level. I think it don't need to be anything bigger than that. I think everybody's over here is experienced for the most part. Everybody knows what it takes. Everybody played in tough games, so it's nothing new to anybody really, honestly. So we just gotta go out there and do what we do at a high level.
So that was Patrick Queen, Steelers linebacker that they signed in free agency. That was also DeMarvin Leal that came over and took the mic. And DeMarvin's a character. We'll get to him in a little bit later in the show because he's a funny guy, and he's always messing with me in the locker room. But with Patrick Queen, I thought it was really interesting if you were paying attention to his answers. I was trying to get a feel for how he's fitting into the defense, what he's learning, and how he's what's his expectations. And there's not a sense that this guy wants to take over the defense or make his stamp in it. He wants to play to the system. And if the Steelers can get him the version of Patrick Queen that the Ravens got to play to their system with their talent around him, I actually think that could be the perfect match for what the Steelers need in their defense. A guy who can cover, a guy who can help in coverage, who can go after the quarterback when they need someone to blitz the quarterback, but can also help with the run. That can make the world of difference for the Steelers at the linebacker position, where they have been liable. And as I told him, since Ryan Shazier, who, by the way, is kind of like a coaching intern right now, which is kind of interesting to see. It's really cool. They had him using the stick with the boxing glove to try to knock the ball out of the player's hands in practice, which was, it's refreshing to see Ryan Shazier get those opportunities. But for Patrick Queen, it's not just, again, the skill set, because the skill set, I think, is a great match. They need a guy who can cover and who could defend the run and can also communicate. He possesses all those skills. But also, you look at his contract and the situation that it gives the Steelers. Patrick Queen, he's not cheap. He's not getting, he's not Russell Wilson money where it's just a vet minimum contract because he can. He is getting paid well. In fact, he's an average $13.6 million salary guy over his contracts over his years with the Steelers and his current contract. But you look at that compared to where other guys are around, who are in the NFL, that's significantly less than the top guys in the NFL, like Roquan Smith, Fred Warner, and Tremaine Edmonds, all three of them who earn over an average of $18 million a year in their current contracts. And Patrick Queen is younger than all of them. In fact, when you look through all the top linebackers as far as being paid per year right now, he's the youngest, going down to, I have to keep scrolling here on overthecap.com, going down to Jack Campbell, a rookie who is 24 years old, who makes $3.6 million. But you have to go down that far to find someone younger than him who is getting paid well at linebacker right now. I think that's a really good sign. The Steelers need someone who's not just going to be there for the short term. They need a linebacker to be there for the long term. And I think this is a guy who he understands where he fits into this current defense, and he can adapt and learn and grow with this group. And that's what the Steelers really want out of Patrick Queen. Not just a guy who's going to just come in and make a couple plays, but a guy who's going to be consistent. And then, in years' time, like he's 25 right now, if he, let's say he plays the rest of his career with the Steelers, he'll be here when TJ Watt retires, because TJ Watt's in his 30s. So like you look at Patrick Queen and what he could bring to the table. This could be the perfect match of putting him with the Steelers defense without it being a huge, roster, a huge contract that takes up a huge chunk of your roster, but also filling an important part of your roster. And that's where I think that he actually could be the perfect addition here, because he has his versatility, he has the athleticism, he has the skill set to help you on passing downs. And it could also be part of the guys that kind of take away the Steelers' liability when they go in dime or nickel formations, where they used to get roasted at the linebacker position. Like if you go back to that Jesse James game, and I don't mean to give Steelers fans headaches, but thinking back to the Jesse James game. But even though everyone remembers the controversial call, the thing that happened before then was that Rob Gronkowski destroyed the Steelers. But the reason it happened was because Ryan Shazier was out, because that was shortly after his injury, and they didn't have any other answers. It forced Sean Davis to be the guy that took on Rob Gronkowski, and he couldn't do it. But Ryan Shazier, he was better at guarding tight ends, or at least being more physical with them at the line of scrimmage to knock them off their timing of their routes and keep them from being as big of a factor when he was a starter. And that's where the Steelers, I think, need a Patrick Queen to be able to be smart, to be athletic, to be challenging, and to bring the Steelers defense into this new era. And I think that also, he gets that, again, he doesn't need to do this by trying to be a superstar. He needs to do this by playing to the system, sticking to what he knows, and getting the team there, and trusting it'll be there, and the confidence that he can be part of an elite defense this year. When I asked him about the team ranking 6th in scoring last year and what they got to do, all things I think are very good signs about Patrick Queen, and another reason why Steelers fans should be really excited about this season coming up. But I talked to a lot of different cornerbacks as well on Wednesday, and I want to get to a lot of those conversations and where we see the cornerback battle as it stands right now. All that here and more on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all of your investment and retirement accounts in one place? Well, with Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. They're the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. Whether you're a seasoned investor or are looking for that extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind the great investor. That's yahoofinance.com, the #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue our episode. Again, we're going to focus a lot on the defense, all on the defense today, because we talked all offense yesterday with the quarterbacks and the offensive line and everything, and we like to mix it up here a little bit. So one of the questions that a lot of people have asked me is about, what's about to happen at cornerback? And, some of the cornerbacks that the Steelers have on the roster right now, no one's really sure who's going to be the guy. And that's certainly a legitimate question. The Steelers, of course, they have not re-signed Levi Wallace or Patrick Peterson, and they traded away Donte Jackson. And in that trade, they got a guy named Donte Jackson from the Panthers, guy on a one-year deal. We'll get to him in just a second because we talked to him. But there's also guys returning that I think that the Steelers are really keen on trying to see if they have something to bring to the table as far as, the cornerback position. Cory Trice Jr., who will also bring on this show. He was looking really good in training camp and then got an injury and he was out for the season. Darius Rush was brought in, started, played a lot of snaps in his first game and then kind of trickled out after that. But there's still a lot of potential in this secondary, at least athletically. And that's where I think it's really interesting to see where guys go. Now, Cory Trice did say that he was not fully clear for contact just yet, but he did say that he's recovering well. I want you all to listen to my questions, my one-on-one with Cory Trice, a cornerback from last year, and how he's making progress this year. Here's Cory Trice. Cory, what's been the thing that you wanted to focus on, in not just your recovery, but hey, this is what I want to do, make sure I set a strong tone for this week?
Really just get my feedback on me, coming off an injury, being able to go out there, do indie with the guys and, keep working with the guys, seeing where I'm at. It's actually a good thing, man. Just keep getting my feet up under me.
When did you get cleared to get back to doing full duty?
When I get clear, honestly, I don't even remember. It's just the fact where I'm at in my rehab, the month-wise and the process, how the process been. I've been able to do more. So yeah.
You were the talk of training camp last year before you went down. Everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's turning in as much as Joey." Is there sort of
an anxiousness to try to get back to what you were doing well that caught everyone's eye?
Oh, hell yeah. Like, I'm ready to get back just to being out there. So, just going out there and making play. I trust my talent. I trust my technique. I grind in my craft every day. So, I'm not really, too big worried on that. I just want to, get my feet back up under me, honestly.
How supportive of guys like Joey and Terry, other younger guys, as far as, being in this process and you getting back to working with them?
It was great, man, because, Joey played a lot of ball this year. Rush played some ball this year. So those guys give me a lot of tips on things that they see in the game and stuff like that. So it was great, man. They definitely helped me out a lot.
Did you have any talks with, Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin or anybody, Brady, just about, hey, this is what we're going to expect of you this year coming in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm like, even me, I'm expected year 2 expectations. So, that's always been my mindset going in. I had an injury before and I came back better. So that's the same mindset, man. I don't want to come back the same. I'm trying to come back better.
What's Donte been like being a new guy that came in as a vet?
Oh, he's a great guy, man. He got tools that we don't have that he's able to teach us. Played a lot of ball, and just a good guy on and off the field. So great guy. He definitely meshing well with everybody.
So good things to hear there from Cory Trice. He sounds confident, sounds ready for the season. He still has to get officially approved for contact, but I thought he sounded pretty strong there. And, he talked about, fitting in. He talked about the guys around him. He talked about, how he wants to continue to improve and the technique that he wants to work on. All of that I think is very important, but I also think it's really important for him to talk the way he talked about Donte Jackson and how his teammates are helping. And you see them, kind of building that culture there on the defense, or not even building, existing in that culture, because that's what the Steelers have kind of, had on the defensive side of the ball over the years, are guys who step up for their teammates and set a really good tone. But Cory Trice, it's just an interesting position the Steelers are at with this cornerback position, because if you look at some of their recent additions that are considered significant additions, you got Joey Porter Jr., who's the second-year player. You got Ryan Watts, who's the rookie. Darren Rush, a second-year player. And now Cory Trice Jr., second-year player. So you got all these young guys in this predicament here. That's where I think things kind of are interesting. And I wanted to talk to Donte Jackson about being an older guy among this group. Here was Donte Jackson when I interviewed him in the Steelers locker room.
What's been your first impression working with this team, cornerback?
Oh, it's been great, man. It's been great. Just learning the communication. I think that's probably the biggest thing to me, just seeing how everybody, just in tune to communicate and make sure everybody know what they're doing, just so we can play fast out there. I think that's one of the biggest things that stood out to me from being here.
What's been your first impression on Mike Tomlin as a coaching staff and what they've asked of you as a vet?
Oh, man, just everything you hear about this organization from a coaching standpoint and the culture standpoint is exactly what you get when you come in the building. I had so many thoughts on how it would be before I got here, and how Coach Tomlin would be, and how these guys would be, and what you hear is exactly what you get here, man. Everybody loves football. Everybody loves to be here. Everybody loves this organization, and that's probably the biggest thing for me, because it gives you just a sense of comfort. It gives you a sense of you belong where you belong. You know what I'm saying? You belong here, and that's kind of how I've been feeling. I've been feeling like I belong here, and I'm right where I need to be. So that culture and what you hear about Coach Tomlin, and how genuine he is with his players, and how genuine he is, and how transparent he is, all that is true. And it's just been a breath of fresh air for me, for real.
Cory Trice had a lot of praise for you as far as you being a vet that can help. You got a lot of young corners with you. A lot of young corners with you. What's that been like working with all these younger guys?
Man, it's been great, man. They we help each other out. You know what I'm saying? I ask a lot of questions because I'm still a new guy here, and just to see all the feedback I get back and all the questions I get asked, just because these guys know I played a lot of ball. I've been the starter, every year in the league. So it's just the questions you get from these guys. It kind of helps you, step up your football, because you have young guys who are actually willing to learn and are willing to ask questions that guys some other places probably wouldn't even want to ask, though. So it's been great, man. It does a great deal for my confidence, being in here with these guys, for real.
Absolutely.
So there's Donte Jackson talking, and I think that there's a lot to learn from veteran guys that add to a team and how they talk about things. And one thing you get across the board, there's just an ultimate respect for especially Tomlin and the organization and how things are run. But also I think it's really interesting, and I wanted to ask him about, working with young guys. He doesn't seem fazed by working with younger guys. Like if you look at Donte Jackson, this is a guy who's been in the NFL for years. This is a guy who's 28 and a half years old. He's going to be 29 years old in November, so almost 30. And he's played in the NFL. He was drafted in 2018. He's a long time vet. But you look around that secondary right now, well, really the cornerback room right now, and it's all young guys. Cory Porter Jr., second-year guy. Ryan Watts, rookie. Darius Rush, second-year guy. Cory Trice, second-year guy. And then guys like Beanie Bishop who are trying to earn a spot in the slot role. That's a rookie right there. And so Donte Jackson is going to be in a unique position where he can set a tone for other guys to follow, especially at the number 2 corner spot next to Joey Porter Jr. So I'm eager to see how he fits in. But again, wanted to talk to multiple guys who are fitting in here and what could happen with this with this cornerback room. But here is one of those other cornerbacks I just mentioned, and here's Darius Rush when we talked to him in the Steelers locker room.
30 snaps in your first game, and then like 5 the rest of the way. Do you know why you played so much, or why you didn't play as much later?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a guy who came in the middle of the season, had to, like Mike T said, got to jump on a moving train. So I had the opportunity to go out there and compete, and they gave me a very small list to learn, and I just had to make sure I executed to the best of my ability. It just came with injuries and things of that nature, and knowing who's up and what's needed in that position during the whole transition of the season. So it was just honestly just very grateful just to be on the field.
Okay. What did you focus on during this offseason? Like after you studied yourself, what you did and what you feel like you wanted to get better at, what did you focus on to get ready for this upcoming season?
One thing was just my technique. Me being a guy who's still relatively new to the cornerback position, just really honing in on my technique and watching some film, just learning football from that, from an off-field standpoint, getting the IQ of the game, but definitely honing in on my technique as a corner.
Do you feel like there was something that you did well last year that you're like, hey, I'm going to keep building on that for this year?
It's something I can always work on each year. I can't really say specifically what, but I know it's something I can always work on, whether this recovery, learning how to treat my body a little bit better than I probably did last year. So it's always something I can learn from year to year.
What do you see the opportunity this year? You thinking outside corner, nickel? You got your eye on a role in particular?
Yeah, it's always a role to go out there and you just gotta earn it. So whether that's nickel, corner, or special teams, those are 3 opportunities I have, and just got to go out there and compete every day for a role, honestly.
So. By the way, that was Darius Rush, cornerback. If you're listening and you can't see the visuals out there, but let's recap here on the cornerbacks we just heard from on the show. You got Donte Jackson, who is a veteran who's been a starter in the NFL and kind of can play to the system that you eventually devise and put together and get used to everything. You've got Cory Trice, who's been injured, missed last year with a season-ending injury, still working his way to get to full-time contact, but is certainly looking better in it, that the fact that he's working and he seems really focused on trying to prove that he can be in this role long term for the Steelers and be that guy. And then of course you also have Darius Rush, who's also trying to prove something. And I think there's a mature perspective from all of these guys, because like right now there's a battle for who's lining up next to Joey or who gets caught off the bench first. And those are some of the guys that often get the best jump chances to re-jump or just straight up jump their careers. So I think that there's a lot of potential here with the Steelers secondary, but as I was talking with Alan Saunders, I wouldn't put it past the Steelers trying to find, more answers there soon with some of those. But with the cornerback position, if this is the group going into the season opener when they play the Falcons on the road, I'll be interested to see how well they hold together. But I do think it may, a lot of it makes sense if you just try to understand where there are cornerback battles. Like I don't think any of these guys are taking Donte Jackson's job straight up, but I do think that they can put themselves in the position to be the next corner that pairs with Joey Porter Jr. for the long term. And to me, that is the big thing that you want to get out of this year. We'll talk more about the defense when I switch over to the defensive line talk in a sec. We talked to DeMarvin Leal. More on him right next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But first, I want to remind you this episode is brought to you by Game Time, the #1 app to buy all your tickets. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful, and that's why now, with the NFL schedule set, it's time for you to book your Steelers tickets, and the best place to do that is on Game Time. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They give you killer deals on last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee that can't be beat, so you can save up to 60% off buying even last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, and many events. If you want Christmas Day tickets to the Steelers-Chiefs game, guess what? Game Time's got those. You want to get tickets to the homecoming or the home opener game where the Steelers take on the Chargers? Absolutely. They got those too. You could plan your trip to Acrisure Stadium to root on the Steelers. Plus, the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price if you find tickets in the same section of row for less somewhere else. In another place that offers tickets, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference of those prices. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase, or go to their website, gametime.co. Terms and conditions apply. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue to switch topics. We switch now to DeMarvin Leal, who is an interesting case of a player for this to look at for the Steelers, because DeMarvin Leal, when he was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2022 NFL draft, he was considered a tweener. He was considered a guy that could play outside or inside. And early on in his rookie year, he had some games where like, okay, something to build there. And then this past season, it didn't continue to trend forward for him. And, it's not a death sentence. It's, it's kind of a, it's just an acknowledgement there. But DeMarvin Leal, I think if the Steelers are right, are smart, they're going to try to get him to be part of the defense, in a significant way very soon, because they need a young defensive line core to develop. And if if Leal can be part of that, that can be a great way for him to rejuvenate his trust with the Steelers. Maybe even get some chances to get some real playing time. So lots of stuff going on there with DeMarvin Leal. But I got a chance to talk to him. Here's DeMarvin Leal when I got to talk to him in the Steelers locker room.
DeMarvin, how you doing?
DeMarvin, what's it feel like coming back for your 3rd year? What kind of things have you focused on to get ready for this year?
Technique. Just working on my technique, making sure that I come back in better shape than I did last year, and just making sure I'm technically sound. I feel like that's the biggest thing coming off of this 2nd year, just technique. I feel like is what, was my downfall. So made sure I got with some defensive line coaches, got together and just came up with a plan and got to it.
Did you change your body at all, like lose weight, gain weight?
Yeah, no, I just started, tuning up. That's about it, really.
Because it does seem like you seem like more like slimmer, if nothing else. It seems like you might be quicker this year.
No, yeah, for sure, most definitely.
What do you kind of look back as a challenge for yourself? Like, hey, I can't let this thing happen. I got to make sure that I got to make sure I make this statement this year.
Just prove it to myself before anybody else. Prove it to myself before anybody else. That's my biggest goal this year, is make sure that I know that I can do every single thing that they need me to, and then accomplish it as well.
You and Keanu are the two young guys that are kind of like coming up for this team. Do you guys talk a lot about how you guys can become a duo that lights up the defense?
No, yeah, not just us, just everybody in general, because everybody on this defensive line is, that we all got our own little, techniques and, abilities. But at the end of the day, when we all come together, we're going to do our thing. So that's what me and Keanu try to do, we try to get everybody involved. He tries to get people involved, at the nose, and I try to get everybody at the end.
You guys already had a lot of years on defense, Cam, Minkah, TJ, Alex, but now you guys get Patrick, you guys get Sean, like other experienced guys. What's it been like seeing those guys get used to the team?
Oh, man, it's, PQ, I actually know PQ. We got the same agency, so I've been around PQ for a good minute now, but seeing PQ, the rest of the other guys come, it just means that we about to be iron on iron everywhere. Sometimes it was lacking in the back or it was lacking in the front, when guys had injuries. So now that we got actual, actual dogs and, the other guys that come in and, just show who they are, prove their point, to themselves and then to this team. So It's amazing, honestly. Just see how we all come together. Offense versus defense about to be crazy every day.
Again, that's Steelers DeMarvin Leal there. I thought Leal gave some good answers to how he was challenging himself and trying to get better in technique and the things he did to get ready, because he needs to get ready. The Steelers need him to develop it back into being one of those premier defensive linemen. He hadn't been that yet for the Steelers, but he had flash moments. So I was like, okay, there's something there. So I look at the potential that he has if he does the right thing, that a frame of 6'4", 290, I believe is his frame. He could be a guy that makes a big difference if he can catch on. And if he catches on, it takes away the need to draft a defensive lineman so early last year, which was something that a lot of people talked about, was, being able to have depth on the defensive line. So if DeMarvin Leal, if the way that he presented himself there, if that can lead into him actually producing, him being more consistent in practice and becoming a starter and being part of this new generation, that could go very well for the Steelers. And if it doesn't happen, I think they'll find that guy in the draft and they'll try to push forward with that. But I don't think that people should count out DeMarvin Leal just yet. I like his skill set. I like that what he's able to do when he's when he's locked in. I just think he needs to learn how to lock in more often, and I think that we might start to see more of that coming down the line here in OTAs as we continue to look at things. The last day of OTAs this week is Thursday, so that is today. So we'll have an update for you on the Friday episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Thanks so much for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see you again here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.